بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي ونسلم على رسوله الكريم أما بعد. In the Taraweeh Salah which was recited today, one of the verses of the 25th juz, وَالَّذِينَ يَجْتَنِبُونَ كَبَائِرَ الْإِثْمِ وَالْفَوَاحِشَ وَإِذَا مَا غَضِبُوا هُمْ يَغْفِرُونَ. From the qualities of a believer is that he refrains from Kabira Guna. And when he is angry, he forgives others. Momin जब वो गुस्सा करता है तो दूसरों को माफ करता है. This is one of the soft qualities of a believer, that he forgives others. The Prophet ﷺ, on the occasion of Fath Makkah, when all the prisoners, the mushrikeen and the kuffar, they were captured and they were brought before the Prophet ﷺ. So he asked them, what do you think I'm going to do with you? So he said, you're very kind, you're kareem, you're very forgiving. So the Prophet ﷺ said, اذهبوا أنتم الطلقاء لا تثريب عليكم اليوم. He said, go, I have freed you, I have forgiven you. So these people who tortured and caused difficulty, sufferings to the Prophet ﷺ his whole life, all the stories we hear from Hikayat Sahaba. The Prophet ﷺ, in one breath, he forgave them. When Hazrat Aisha radiallahu ta'ala anha, when she was slandered, Buhtan, the famous story of Ifk, Hazrat Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he had a nephew whom he used to spend upon, Mistah bin Athatha radiallahu anhu. So he was from those few Sahaba who were caught in those thoughts regarding Hazrat Aisha radiallahu anha. So Hazrat Abu Bakr radiallahu ta'ala anhu, he used to spend on him a lot. He used to give him a lot of sadaqah, help him out. So when he found out that Mistah is also involved in this, he said, I'm never going to spend on him again. Never give him money. He did a qasam. He said, Wallahi, I'm not going to spend on Mistah again. The Quran was revealed. He said, وَلَا يَأْتَلِ أُولُو الْفَضْلِ مِنْكُمْ وَالسَّعَةِ أَنْ يُؤْتُوا لِلْقُرْبَى وَالْمَسَاكِينَ وَالْمُهَاجِرِينَ فِي سَبِيلِ اللَّهِ. Then what did Allah say? وَلْيَعْفُوا وَلْيَصْفَحُوا. These people who have taken an oath not to spend again, they should forgive. Then what did Allah say? أَلَا تُحِبُّونَ أَن يَغْفِرَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ. Don't you like that Allah forgive you when you do wrong? जब तुम पसंद करते हो कि जब तुम गुनाह करते हो, गलती करते हो, अल्लाह तुम्हें माफ करे, तो बंदों को भी आपस में एक दूसरे को माफ करना चाहिए. So you have to learn to forgive people's mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes. Human beings, they make mistakes. So one of the qualities of the believer is to forgive. Hazrat Yusuf alayhi salatu wassalam, when he was thrown in the well, then he was taken out by the Aziz al-Misr, then he was imprisoned, and then he became the king. Lengthy story. He went through a lot of sufferings. When his brothers came before him, some Mufassirin say that the period between from the well till he met his brothers again was 8 years. All of this happened in 8 years. He suffered, and he did suffer for 8 years. When his brothers came to him, what did he say? He said, oh, Ayyad, you're the one who threw me in the well. He didn't say another. What did he say? وَقَدْ أَحْسَنَ بِي إِذْ أَخْرَجَنِي مِنَ السِّجْنِ وَجَاءَ بِكُم مِّنَ الْبَدْوِ مِن بَعْدِ أَن نَزَغَ الشَّيْطَانُ بَيْنِي وَبَيْنَ إِخْوَتِي إِنَّ رَبِّي لَطِيفٌ لِمَا يَشَاءُ. And then before that, what did he say? لَا تَثْرِيبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الْيَوْمَ يَغْفِرُ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ. He said, I have forgiven you, and I am doing shukr to Allah who took me out from the well. So Mufassirin, they say that he didn't say, as soon as he saw his brothers, he didn't say, oh, you put me in the well, then Allah took me out. He deleted all the negative points and he mentioned the positive points because he didn't want to hurt them. So and the Prophet ﷺ, on the occasion of Makkah, he said the same thing. La tathriba alaykum al-yawm. He said, I am saying the same words my brother Yusuf said. Hazrat Yusuf ﷺ said to his brothers, La tathriba alaykum al-yawm. Yaghfir Allahu lakum. Prophet ﷺ said, I am saying the same phrase that my brother Yusuf said to his brothers. And Prophet ﷺ repeated the same phrase on the occasion of Fatih Makkah. So you have to learn to forgive others. Don't keep the grudge and the mal and the filth in your heart. You know, when you pick up a glass of water, say for example this is a glass of water, you pick it up, you lift it up for a few seconds, you put it down. That's not heavy. You pick up the same glass of water and you lift it up for 10 minutes. It's going to feel heavy. It'll have pressure on you. But did you increase the water? No. So when you picked up the glass and you left it a few seconds, it had no effect on your hand. You put it down. But you picked up that same glass of water for 10 minutes, your hand will start hurting. Similarly, if you keep a grudge in your heart for 1 day, 2 days, okay. But for years on, 5 years, 10 years. So that's why in English, what did they say? Forgive the next person. Forgive the next person, even though they're not worthy of it, but you deserve the peace. Forgive the person in front of you, even though they're not worthy of it, but you deserve the peace of mind. I've forgiven him, finish, oh yeah. Because if you keep that grudge in your heart, that hatred in your heart, you'll be at ease. You'll be unease all the time. You'll have difficulty, taklif in your heart all the time. So that's what the ayat is saying. In the hadith of Bukhari, Uyayna bin Hisn, the uncle of Hur ibn Qais radiallahu anhu, he came to Madinatul Munawwara. Hur ibn Qais is a nephew of Uyayna bin Hisn. So he said to his nephew, oh my nephew, I want to meet Amir al-Mu'mineen, Hazrat Umar radiallahu anhu. When Umar radiallahu anhu was Khalifa. So he said, okay, I'll make an appointment for you. So he made an appointment, this, that. As soon as his uncle came in, now Hur ibn Qais was very close to Hazrat Umar radiallahu anhu. So Uyayna bin Hisn, his uncle came in. And as soon as he sat down, he started to shout at Hazrat Umar radiallahu anhu. And he said, oh Umar, you like this, you like that. Ma tu'tina al-jazal, wa la tahkum baynana bil-adl. He said, you don't give us no mali ganimat, you don't do insaf, justice, and you like this, you like that. Now Hazrat Umar doesn't tolerate no nonsense. The veins on his head started to burst, bloat up, and started to get red, his face. Now Hur ibn Qais, the nephew of Uyayna bin Hisn, he was sat there. So he knew that Hazrat Umar radiallahu anhu, that if you recite the Quran in front of him, he will comply to it immediately. So Hazrat Hur bin Qais, he was a Qari of Quran. So he said, Ya Amir al-Mu'mineen, khudil afwa, wa'amir bil-urf, wa'a'rid an al-jahilin, wa hadha min al-jahilin. So he said, O Amir al-Mu'mineen, forgive and do amr bil-ma'roof and turn a blind eye to the ignorant, the jahil. And this my uncle here is a jahil. As soon as he said this, sab gussa thanda ho gaya. As Umar radiallahu ta'ala, his face changed and he became normal again. But Hur ibn Qais used to say, Kana Umar waqafan inna kitabillah. That whenever a verse of the Quran would be recited in front of Umar, he would stop immediately. Immediate compliance. When he was told to do something that is from Quran and Hadith, immediately. There was no interval in between. Should I do it? Should I not do it? Is it right? That's a name. Fauran. Allah ka hukam hai, Nabi ka hukam hai. Fauran comply. Immediate compliance. So we need to learn to forgive. We need to learn to forgive. And our interactions are mostly with our wives and our children. And indeed, spouses, they make mistakes with one another. Children make mistakes. So if there are mistakes which could be overlooked, you should forgive. The Quran says, "Inna min awladikum, inna min azwajikum wa awladikum aduwwan lakum fahdharuhum." That your wives and your children, they are your enemies. Enemies in the sense that when you want to do something good, they will stop you. So this verse was revealed when some Sahaba, they wanted to migrate with the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but their wives and children, they weren't happy. They weren't happy. They said, "You can't leave us here." So what did Allah say? وَإِن تَعْفُوا وَتَصْفَحُوا وَتَغْفِرُوا فَإِنَّ اللَّهَ غَفُورٌ رَحِيمٌ. Don't be angry. And this is the only verse in the Quran Allah uses all the phrases of forgiveness. Ta'fu, afu, wa tasfahu, safa, wa taghfiru, ghufran. This is the only verse in the Quran Allah uses all three of these. All of them mean the same. Forgive, forget, overlook. So Allah is saying that you mostly interact with your wives and your children, your family, your mother, father. So there are mistakes from both sides. So you need to learn to forgive. एक दूसरे को माफ करना सीखो. दिल में कोई कार और क्या कहते हैं ग्रज न हो, नफरत न हो, गुस्सा न हो. मोमिन की सिफत ये है कि जब कोई काम उसके सामने किया जाए जो उसको गुस्सा दिलाए तो वो काम रहता है, पॉजिटिव होता है. So you need to learn to, and Islam teaches us that when you are angry, you diffuse the situation. जब गुस्सा हो, situation को मुस्बत, इससे कि जब आदमी गुस्सा करता है उस वक्त माहौल में नफी होता है, मनफी माहौल होता है. तो इस्लाम क्या कहता है, उस माहौल को मुस्बत बनाओ. मुस्बत किस तरह, अगर खड़े हो बैठ जाओ, बैठे हो लेट जाओ, पानी पी लो, वुजू करो. So Islam says when you are in a negative situation, when you are angry, you're negative energy in the atmosphere. So diffuse the situation by positivity. Now how do you do that? If you're standing, sit down. If you're sitting, lie down. Drink some water, do wuzu. So this is what the Quran is saying, that when you get angry, you forgive. Don't leave that in your heart. Tu maaf kar, wo bhi maaf karega. The poet says, tu maaf kar, वो भी माफ करेगा. तू मेहरबान बन, वो मेहरबानी का सरचश्मा है. You forgive one another. He will also forgive you. Allah will also forgive you. And you show kindness. Kindness, the fountain of kindness comes from above there. मेहरबानी का सरचश्मा ऊपर से आता है. अगर तुम एक दूसरे के साथ मेहरबानी के साथ रहोगे, माफ करोगे, माफी तलाफी हो जाए, रहम करम दरगुजर माफी का मामला करोगे मखलूक के साथ, तो फिर हमारे गुनाहों को भी वो माफ करेगा. लेकिन अगर हम एक दूसरे को माफ नहीं कर सकते, मखलूक को माफ नहीं कर सकते, तो फिर खालिक से क्या हम कहते हैं कि भाई हमें माफ करो. तो दिल में खार न हो, किसी के लिए नफरत न हो, दिल साफ होना चाहिए. तो Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam told Hazrat Anas radiyallahu ta'ala anhu, या बुनैया इन क़द्दरत अन तुस्बिह व तुमसी व लैस फी क़ल्बि गुश्शन लि अहदिन फ़फ़अल. जाते हैं डॉक्टर के यहाँ और MRI scan, CT scan, और पता नहीं before operation you do this scan, that scan, all of this. तो हुजूर ने फरमाया, अनस, जब तुम सुबह करो और शाम करो, अपना दिल का स्कैन करो. Scan your heart, X-ray. And what should you make sure? There is no hatred for anyone in your heart. दिल साफ स्लेट होना चाहिए, कोई भी चीज़ दिल के अंदर ना हो. सुबह भी इस तरह हो और शाम भी इस तरह हो. क्यों? इसलिए कि अगर तुम इस तरह करोगे तो ये मेरी सुन्नत है, ये मेरा तरीक़ा है. This is my way. If you keep your heart clean, this is my way. और जो मेरे रास्ते पर चलेगा वो मेरे साथ जन्नत में होगा. And whoever follows my way, he will be with me in जन्नत. तो सुबह भी और शाम भी दिल साफ होना. दिल में किसी के लिए खार ना हो, मैल ना हो, नफरत ना हो, बुग़्ज़ ना हो, कीना ना हो, हसद ना हो. ये सब गंदी चीज़ें हैं. So you have to clean your heart, flush. You have to flush your heart. Just like when you go to the doctor, you do X-ray, and the doctor says there's a valve here, there's a blockage here. फिर उसमें वो स्टेम रखते हैं उसको खोलने के लिए, और पेसमेकर रखते हैं, या पता नहीं क्या दवाई खिलाते हैं ताकि वो खून बहना हो जाए. तो बस इसी तरह अगर हमने देखा कि एक्सरे किया और देखा कि यहाँ किसी के लिए नफरत है, यहाँ किसी के लिए खार है, यहाँ किसी के लिए मैल है, तो उसको निकालना पड़ेगा. Because once the Sahaba, they came to the Prophet ﷺ and said, "O Prophet of Allah," one Sahabi came and said, "O Prophet of Allah, this person, he's like this, he's like this, he's like this." Well, Prophet ﷺ said, "Don't say all this to me. I want to leave this world wa ana salimu sadr. I want to leave this world in the condition that my heart is clean. I don't want no ill feelings about anyone. When you come every day and you say, he's like this, he's like that, दिल सबके लिए साफ होना चाहिए, सबके लिए साफ होना चाहिए." I mentioned one short story in finish up. Once Prophet ﷺ, he was sat and a Sahabi came in. So Prophet ﷺ said, whoever wants to see a person from Jannah, look at him. So Sahaba looked at him. The gathering dispersed. Next day again, same thing. Prophet ﷺ said, if you want to see a Jannati, look at that person over there. He was sat right at the end. Third day, same thing. Now one Sahabi who was sat in the gathering, he was inquisitive. He said, why is he Jannati? Something special about him. So that same night, he went to his home, that Sahabi's home, whom the Prophet ﷺ said he's a Jannati. And he knocked on his door and said, he made up a story. He said, I'm having some problems at home. I want to stay with you at night. The Sahabi said, it's fine. They were kind and loving to one another. So the Sahabi said, it's fine, you can stay with me. Now when he stayed with him, he gave him a bistar, a room place. He said, wuzu, water, hair, musalla, finish. And said, you can rest here. Now this Sahabi, when he stayed at the night at that Sahabi's home, he found that he woke up for Fajr namaz, he prayed tahajjud, he went for Fajr, then he went to work, and then at night he came back home, he went to work all day, he prayed his namaz, came back home, had dinner, whatever, went to sleep. There was nothing extraordinary in his life, which we would classify as extraordinary. He prayed tahajjud, namaz, that's what all the Sahaba used to do. So he stayed with him a few days. Now this Sahabi who went to stay with him, he came back to the Prophet ﷺ and said, Prophet of Allah, a few days ago you said this Sahabi is a Jannati, but I went and I stayed with him. He prays tahajjud, namaz, goes to work, he does everything we do, nothing extraordinary. Prophet ﷺ said, no, there is something, go and ask him. So he went and asked him. So he said, this is the reason I came to stay with you. He said, tell me. He said, no. First he tried to cover it up. He said, nothing, go away, nothing special. So he said, no, you have to tell me. When he insisted, he said, well, there's nothing I think is extraordinary, but before I go to sleep every day, when I lie down on my bed, on my bistar, I make sure my heart is clean for everyone. There is no ill feeling or hatred for anyone in my heart. So this Sahabi, he went back to the Prophet ﷺ and said, Prophet, this is what he's saying. Prophet ﷺ said, this is the reason that he's Jannati. This is the reason he's Jannati, because his heart is clean. So maybe you're not an arbid or a worshipper. You're not going over the top in worship, in excessive Quran, or in excessive nawafil, or in a lot of tasbihat. But these salient qualities in a believer, here and there, your heart is clean, the way you speak is positive, the way you behave is positive, your thinking is positive, then these types of actions, they surpass all of this nocturnal worship, optional worship. Sometimes a lot of these kinds of actions, the way you think, the way you behave with others, they surpass all of this form of worship, extra ibadat. So you have to inculcate these qualities in your life. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the tawfiq. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Sallallahu ala nabiyil kareem. Alhamdulillah rabbil alameen. Salatu wassalamu ala sayyidil anbiya wal mursaleen. Sayyidina wa nabiyyina wa lana Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكون من الخاسرين. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار. اللهم اغفر لنا ولجميع المؤمنين والمؤمنات والمسلمين والمسلمات الأحياء منهم والأموات إنك سميع قريب مجيب الدعوات. اللهم اغفر لنا ما قدمنا وما أخرنا وما أسررنا وما أعلنا وما أسرفنا وما علمنا وما أنت أعلم به منا. أنت المقدم وأنت المؤخر لا إله إلا أنت. اللهم أعنا بالعلم وزينا بالحلم وأكرمنا بالتقوى وجملنا بالعافية. اللهم أكرمنا من نور الفهم وأخرجنا من ظلمات الوهم وافتح لنا أبواب رحمتك ويسر علينا خزائن علمك. اللهم إنا نسألك الهدى والتقى والعفاف والغنى. ربي أعط نفوسنا تقواها وزكها أنت خير من زكاها أنت وليها مولاها. يا حي يا قيوم برحمتك نستغيث أصلح لنا شأننا كله ولا تكلنا إلى أنفسنا طرفة عين. يا رب كل شيء بقدرتك على كل شيء اغفر لنا كل شيء حتى لا تسألنا عن شيء. اللهم ربي اغفر وارحم وأنت خير الراحمين. اللهم ربي اغفر وارحم وأنت خير الراحمين. لا إله إلا الله أستغفر الله. نسألك الجنة ونعوذ بك من النار. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من غضبك وسخطك. اللهم إنا نسألك رضاك والجنة ونعوذ بك من غضبك وسخطك والنار. اللهم إنا نعوذ بك من عذاب جهنم، ونعوذ بك من عذاب القبر، ونعوذ بك من فتنة المحيا والممات، ونعوذ بك من شر فتنة المسيح الدجال. اللهم ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم، وتب علينا مولانا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم. وصلى الله على النبي الكريم برحمتك.